welcome to Tales of Honor Podcast, a podcast dedicated to telling the true stories of the Congressional Medal of Honor. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tales of Honor Podcast. I'm your host, Christoph Ambrosch, and today's episode is episode 177. And if this is your first time hearing this podcast, welcome, and please go back and listen to all of the other episodes that are already out, ready for your listening pleasure, wherever it is you're listening to podcasts. And please be sure to subscribe wherever it is that you are listening. And this ensures that you get new episodes whenever they come out every Wednesday and Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And now, a tale of honor. Lucian was born on the 26th of October, 1922, in Port Arthur, Texas, into a family of 11 other children. After high school, he spent 2 years in a plant making military landing crafts, and in February of 1943, Lucian enlisted in the U.S. Army. The following summer, he found himself with the 3rd Infantry Division landing on the shores near Saint-Tropez in the south of France on the same landing crafts he had just spent 2 years making prior to enlisting. It was his actions while being stopped by 3 enemy machine gun nests that would earn him the Medal of Honor. The citation reads, "For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at risk of life above and beyond the call of duty, on 28 October 1944, near Saint-Dié, France, when his company was stopped in its effort to drive through the Mortagne forests to reopen the supply line to the isolated 3rd Battalion, Staff Sergeant Adams braved the concentrated fire of machine guns in a lone assault on a force of German troops. Although his company had progressed less than 10 yards and had lost 3 killed and 6 wounded, Staff Sergeant Adams charged forward, dodging from tree to tree, firing a borrowed bar from the hip. Despite intense machine gun fire which the enemy directed at him and rifle grenades which struck the trees over his head, showering him with broken twigs and branches, Staff Sergeant Adams made his way to within 10 yards of the closest machine gun and killed the gunner with a hand grenade. An enemy soldier threw hand grenades at him from a position only 10 yards distant. However, Staff Sergeant Adams dispatched him with a single burst of bar fire. Charging into the vortex of the enemy fire, he killed another machine gunner at 15 yards range with a hand grenade and forced the surrender of 2 supporting infantrymen. Although the remainder of the German group concentrated the full force of its automatic weapons fire in a desperate effort to knock him out, he proceeded through the woods to find and exterminate 5 more of the enemy. Finally, when the 3rd German machine gun opened up on him at a range of 20 yards, Staff Sergeant Adams killed the gunner with bar fire. In the course of the action, he personally killed 9 Germans, eliminated 3 enemy machine guns, vanquished a specialized force, which was armed with automatic weapons and grenade launchers, cleared the woods of hostile elements, and reopened the severed supply lines to the assault companies of his battalion. Lucian became known as the Tornado from Texas among his men, and when a messenger had told him that he had been recommended for the Medal of Honor, he chose not to believe it, since he had heard the same thing in Italy when he single-handedly destroyed a German machine gun position, for which he received the Bronze Star. He didn't have a choice to believe it, though, when he received orders to travel home in order to receive the Medal of Honor from President Roosevelt. Lucian didn't receive the medal from the president since Roosevelt had died on the 12th of April, 1945, but he ended up receiving it from Lieutenant General Alexander Patch on the 22nd of April, 1945, in the Nuremberg Zeppelin Stadium. A large U.S. flag had been draped over the stadium's giant swastika, and after the ceremony, in which 5 3rd Division soldiers received the Medal of Honor, U.S. engineers removed the U.S. flag and blew up the swastika. Lucian returned to Texas after his time in Europe and worked for the Veterans Administration in San Antonio for over 40 years. He retired from the VA in 1986, and he had told a reporter once that as a veterans counselor, he never brought up his service. He never brought up his combat experience, and he never mentioned his Medal of Honor. Lucian Adams died on the 31st of March 2003 at the age of 80 and is buried in the Fort Sam Houston National Cemetery in San Antonio, Texas, Section AI, Site 555. And that was a tale of honor. Thank you for listening to Tales of Honor Podcast. Please head on over to talesofhonorpodcast.com for more information, other ways to listen and support the podcast, and please be sure to leave a good rating and a nice review. If you have any questions or comments, you can send them on over to talesofhonorpodcast@gmail.com. And until next time, I'm Christoph Ambrosch. Thanks for listening.